Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the game, Charcuterie, the board game, an I-cut-you-choose tile placement game with a really neat tile placement choice. So I've become enamored lately of games where the tiles in the game, tile placement games specifically, the tiles are not the shapes that I'm used to seeing, where they're not polyominoes, squares, or hexes. And that is the case in Charcuterie. The tiles are shaped to look like the different types of things that you put on a charcuterie board. They're crackers, they're circular crackers and circular meats and wedge-shaped cheeses and dips and fruits and vegetables, all sorts of things that you would put on a charcuterie plate. Plays with 6 players, and it plays really well up to 6 players, where one player is drawing a bunch of tiles from a bag, and they divide them into stacks, depending on the player count. The stacks might be different sizes, and then each player chooses one of those stacks and puts them on their charcuterie platter. And here's where the twist of tile placement really comes into effect, where these irregular tiles come into effect. There's no exact way that you need to put them on here. Like, there's no hex grid that you're trying to fit these tiles onto. Rather, you just put them on here however you would like, however you think looks beautiful and fits the different goals of the game. There's some public goals that you're trying to accomplish and some private goals. Really, it felt like Cascadia with even more freedom, because it had Cascadia-like goals that you're trying to accomplish and trying to complete with these different foods that you're putting on your plate. So you have a lot of freedom in terms of how they are touching each other, trying to have different. Certain things might want to be touching each other. Certain things might want to be in a group with nothing else in it. Nothing can be overhanging over the platter. And so you just have a lot of freedom of how you do that. And the biggest thing of this freedom, to add to the freedom element, is the freedom and flexibility element in this game with the tile placement. Is that as you gain the tiles, it isn't a game where you have to put the tiles and you can never move them again, which works thematically, or that wouldn't work thematically for this game, because you are preparing a charcuterie platter to present to your guest at a party, essentially. Instead of doing that, the game says, at any time in the game, you can rearrange any of the tiles that you have in any way that you want to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. You have complete freedom in terms of how you move these tiles around. With one key catch, because that might mean that players just wait until the very end of the game to think about the tile placement at all. But no, when the game is over, when the last I cut you choose happens, when the last player chooses their stack, a timer starts, a 1-minute timer starts. We didn't actually use that timer in our game. We had kind of a timer in our heads. But technically the game is saying you have about a minute at the end of the game to figure out the final placement of these tiles. So you don't just wait until the end of the game to place the tiles. Rather, you are incentivized to start placing them during the game to figure out which combinations work for your private and the public goals. And then you have a little bit of extra time at the end of the game to figure it out. But I love that freedom. I love that you aren't set, that it's not like I put these 3 meats together and they are locked in for the rest of the game. I'm arranging a charcuterie plate. I can rearrange them as I wish until the end of the game to present the best platter and try to have the most points for my platter. Really, really clever I cut you choose tile placement game. I had a great time with my first play. I know that I'll be playing this at future game nights as well. That's Charcuterie from designers Whitney Lorraine and Josh Camden. Yeah, let me know your thoughts if you've played a game like this. Especially, let me know in particular if you've played another tile placement game where the game doesn't require you to lock in the tiles that you gain at the moment that you gain them, that you have a lot of freedom in terms of when and where you place them, and if you decide later to rearrange them, if the game gives you the freedom to do that. I'd love to hear other examples of that in the comments below. Thanks.